Hello, George, Phat Foodforest. Today's video is to announce that we're fully stocked up on worm castings, worms, and our breeder bins. We saw the breeder bins is ready to go systems, kind of a plug and play. Put it in whatever system you're going to use, whatever bin you're going to use, even the bin you took at home in to get started. So you did a little study. I used a 2-layer bin for quite a while. We'll probably look at that. But the reason I have these videos, we're ready to go. I'm looking for ways to market these and get these out there. I just want to let everyone know. Please help me share, like, share, subscribe to the videos, talk about these, order some of these. We're looking for some testers as well. But I also want to talk today about how we do it and why we think they are better. If you look at the bag, you can see just how dark they are. Just what a beautiful casting they are. That's why we have the bag with the clear on there. I want to walk you through how we produce them here. It's a combination of the wood chips that we see on the ground, the abundance around us, composting these things, letting that compost go static for a while, working on that soil food web that's in there. We've studied these under a microscope. We know how wonderful they are. And I see other companies using simple cardboard and things like that. I've talked about this before. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. Worm castings are wonderful, but it's just common sense to me when you're taking the time to put all these organic, natural amendments, especially local to WNC if you're from Western North Carolina or surrounding areas. Making a thermophilic compost, not to get too complicated, then a static compost that sat there, and feeding it to the worms in a breeding system where they break it down for 3 weeks. From there, it goes into a large batch bin, which is set for about 6 months until that's completed. And then I'll sift that at the end. I also talk about our sifting method, using a larger screen. That larger screen allows us to sift it when it's more moist. We don't have to dry it down. Many of the larger companies, they want to dry it down. It makes it much easier to sift, and you can use a smaller screen dimension that way. And you're catching all the cocoons, saving it for the system that you have, for your breeder system. I don't mind some getting through, and what we do is put it in the large batch bin. Most of them hatch there. We'll have a look. But some will get through and be in those bags of castings, which is a wonderful thing for your garden or however you're using these castings. The ways we use these castings is we top dress these beds. We put just a sprinkle on top. It only takes a little bit to help that biome get going what needs to go there. We make compost teas out of them. That would involve using some sort of aeration system and a food like molasses we would use. Be careful with that. You can overbrew and start inviting bad guys, so keep a short brew time. 24 to 36 hours is probably best. And a very simple way is to do a compost extract. We put it in that same bag we would use for making the compost tea. And the extract is just a simple massage, or letting it sit in there, massaging it a few times, letting it freely come out of there. Then I use those teas as sprays. I spray under the leaves of everything, all over the leaves of everything, the trunks of my trees, the soil cover. In those 3 ways is what we do. It's all we do for the fertilization here. We'll have a look. This isn't about Phat Foodforest, but it does show that's all we use is a combination of those compost teas and extracts. And there's just abundance everywhere of perennials and annuals. We'll start with the composting systems. I don't know if we'll go all the way out front, but here, don't mind the yellow cord, sorry. A little bit of a mess. I made a video earlier showing we have staggered compost, so it's always quite a few composts going at a time. The last one's just finishing up. This one's sat for about 6 months now. Maybe only 5, but it'll be right full of worms. That was on this side. And most of those worms, was making me look like a liar. There's a few in there. Let me go deeper. They've all migrated. There we go. So there's a lot of worms in that compost, and there's a cocoon right there you can see as well. So already we're taking this, which was a thermophilic compost, and it sat static. This one's newer, just cooled down. All the worms have moved over here. And we use that for the bedding. So that becomes a bedding for a breeding system. But that compost is built out of all this. So out of wood chips in the pathways that we pick up and change every year. Taking some of those and top dressing. Taking many of those out of these swales here. So they're composting in place. That's more of a fungal compost. The thermophilic compost is more of a bacterial compost. So getting both sides of the equation there. And then just a surplus of fruits. We have figs and apples and pears and Asian pears and mulberries and grapes and gooseberries and jostaberries and currants and so on down through. So all this greenness we're composting, it's a diversity of organics, a diversity of materials that are going into this. I'm going to pause here as we go in. So from there, I'll bring in buckets or wheelbarrows of compost. That's where I'll, once a week, I just got done doing these ones, so next week it'll be these. These have that compost as a bedding. I top feed them with a baby chicken feed and a few other organic amendments to supplement their feed to make big fat worms, big beautiful red wigglers. This will be right full of red wigglers. This is the second stage of that compost. Well, we could say third stage. So it went thermophilic, then it's that static. And then it came in here and became bedding for these guys for 3 weeks. From there, I do a no sift technique using light deprivation. I get rid of separate the worms from the castings and the eggs. And they go in here. And this is going to be right full of worms because it's fed from one end to the other. And I dump those beds full of cocoons in here. This is about how good the castings are, not my system. But, so there's going to be thousands of eggs in there. They're going to come in here, and this is just right full of worms. So the numbers of worms in here is fascinating. But that allows this bed to be really finished by the time it gets to one end. So from there, it gets sifted with this a 1/4 inch screen. So we get these beautiful moist castings. Ones up here close to the light are already trying to grow things out of them. From there, when I bag it, I'll give it one more sifting. That's our finished product. From there, one moment. From there, it's ready to go to you. When I come out here, it's quieter and much nicer. So we have that available in those bags like I showed. Those are going to be 2 quarts, $15. We don't do it by weight because it'd be much heavier because our castings are so moist. So we're not trying to fool anybody. So a half gallon, is going to be $15. A gallon is $20. 5 gallons is $50. A pound of worms, which is around 1,000 worms, is going to be $50. And one of those breeder bins that we looked at is about $50 as well. That's going to have 500 or more worms in it, possibly some baby worms. That bedding that gets things started, that bacterial life in there, that fungal life in there that starts breaking down the new bedding you're going to use in your system. And it's also got about 1,000 cocoons in there, and they're going to turn into thousands of worms in the next few months. You'll triple your system very quickly. From there, it's a very good home system, good enough for any family of 4 or so's kitchen scraps. Is a system like that. So I'm George. This is Phat Ninja Foodforest. We're looking for suggestions on where and how to sell these castings. Looking for people to try them out and give us testimonials. And I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. Change is better than a holiday. Have a great day.